Welcome to the second episode of Prestin and Sexton podcast. I'm your host, Gabriel Sexton, alongside my co-host, Preston DeVille. Today we'll be talking about our 5 favorite movies and then our favorite theater experiences. 2 episodes are better than 1, you know? So, Preston, what top 5 you smoking on right now?
Well, I'm going to start off with a movie we actually maybe briefly talked a little bit about last week, and that will be Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I mean, I could go into it, but we have a whole episode dedicated to Indiana Jones. So I'm just going to leave it there at Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. You already know my opinion on it. We talked about it last week. If you want to know my opinion on it, make sure you go back and give episode 1 a listen.
Wow, that is a splendid endorsement right there. Absolutely stunning.
Definitely not shameful.
No, we have no intentions of whoring ourselves out for money. Haha.
Unless, one of those big corporations want to give us a call.
Hasbro, please sponsor us. Please, I'm begging. I'm on my knees. I would say, I think that's a good movie. I like The Last Crusade in the fact that, you get Sean Connery, Harrison Ford, and we went into it last week for sure. It's a good movie. It's funny. It's action. What else do you need? Anti-Nazi, too. Gotta throw that in there. But I'm gonna say my number 5 movie. We talked about favorite movies and can you watch them on repeat? So
yes, so what we mean by favorite, it's not exactly the best movies we've seen, because that would be a whole different topic. This is our favorite movies, the ones we just like to, when we're bored, we sit down on the couch and watch it. If we're scrolling through television at night, we don't know what to watch, and this movie's on, we're probably going to sit down and watch it, or probably going to enjoy it, because these movies are absolute gems.
They just allow us to vegetate. Like, sit there catatonically, watch them, and probably drool all over ourselves. I like to do that when I watch Tropic Thunder. That's up there. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
I actually just watched Tropic Thunder a few days ago for the first time.
Did you like it?
It was okay.
Why? Why was it just okay?
I don't know. I guess for me it was a little hard to follow at some points. Don't know why. Just...
I'm a dude playing another dude that's playing a dude in a movie. Classic. Robert Downey Jr. in that movie's funny, and...
He actually got an Oscar nod for that.
As a guy in blackface.
I know, that's kind of, that would never happen today.
You will never see it again.
Yeah, you won't see a white man getting an Academy Award nomination for going blackface.
I don't think you'll ever see it again.
I know some people have an issue with it. I don't really see an issue with it. It's acting. You're supposed to be acting out something. Right,
he's playing a character in a movie that is doing blackface. Robert Downey Jr. himself, well, he is doing blackface, isn't doing
He's not doing it in an insulting way. He's just playing a character.
Right. You know who's actually hilarious in that movie?
Who?
Tom Cruise is funny in that movie as Les Moonves.
I didn't notice that was Tom Cruise right away because I looked at him. I'm like, wait, I know that face. But I couldn't for some reason, I couldn't plug Tom Cruise into it because it's Tom Cruise wouldn't do this kind of movie. But no.
But he did. But he did. He's funny. He's like, you, Key Grip, I want you to punch him in the face really goddamn hard.
And to be honest, I really didn't think Robert Downey Jr. would do a movie like this. He kind of comes off usually as a serious actor. We'll do either Marvel movies or super serious movies.
Yeah.
But hey, I guess not. He went blackface for a movie, and
it's Kirk Lazarus.
I pretty much enjoyed the movie.
It's good. I like it. That's one of my favorite comedies. What's your number 4, or another one of your favorites?
So number 4, I got the greatest animated movie of all time. Yes, I said it. Don't come at me. In Shrek.
We are having some hot takes out here at the moment.
Is it really hot though?
The best ever.
Yes.
Over Lion King.
Way over Lion King.
Wow. Wow.
I love Shrek because, well, 1, it's an amazing soundtrack. 2,
True.
It's a really good storyline, An ogre, having some, personal issues with never really being accepted into society.
Mental health.
Focuses on his mental health, on why it's okay to be yourself.
Yeah.
You know, he kind of loses all his like friends and stuff whenever he doesn't be himself.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's kind of showing like ultimately being yourself is greater than being a poser or something you're not. And another thing I liked is just a really good friendship movie. Like Shrek never had friends because, you know, people would always see him as an ogre.
Well, he didn't want friends either.
That's where I disagree with you. I think he did.
But look at how he is with Donkey.
But was that because he didn't want friends, or was that years of people always screaming before he was
How about
monster.
A little A, little B? Because he is inherently shitty to Donkey.
Which makes sense because people have been inherently shitty to him his whole life.
Right, but if he didn't want friends, right?
Yeah.
He would be nice to Donkey. Or if people were shitty to him and he wanted friends, he would be nice to Donkey. He's not nice to Donkey.
That's just because he has never really been able to open up to someone because they're always like he says, they always judge him before they see him.
Because he didn't want friends, Preston.
No.
He didn't want friends.
It's because he's a big green monster in those people's eyes. Like they kind of mention it like whenever he opens up to Donkey. It's like he never knew how to treat people because he's never met anyone who didn't judge him before they knew him and ran off because he's a monster. Kind of get what I mean there?
I do, but I think it's more of a chicken versus the egg argument. They're like, does Shrek not want friends because people have treated him pretty bad? Or does he not want friends because he just doesn't want friends? Do we know?
And also another great thing about it is it's kind of like not like every other animation movie of the time.
It's a big middle finger to Disney.
Yeah, like it's basically a movie telling Disney to F off.
Yeah.
Like the one time there's anything remotely close to Disney, it was the Peter Pan scene where they're doing a musical and the princess kicks the shit out of all of them.
That is funny. Admittedly, that is a funny part.
Plus, you know, most animated movies at that time were kind of... the audience was children. Well, Shrek really wasn't. Its target audience was adults. Like, you can tell by the jokes they make. You can tell just how it is.
The Muffin Man! One of my favorite. You're a monster! Yeah, I like that. I like Shrek. I just didn't grow up on it, so, like, we had it. I liked Shrek a lot. I just didn't connect with me too much when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that I just get in the mood to watch every once in a while, so it's like, oh, I'm going to go watch Shrek, I guess.
Fair enough.
Also, sequel is debatably just as good.
But not the third one.
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that. Not up in here.
It was a rare case of a movie franchise getting the second movie right. Like, it's not as good as the original Shrek, but it's still...
Is it a bad movie?
Not even close.
Exactly.
And it's like, it's not even that's not a bad movie. That's also not a good movie. It's a pretty great movie.
It's a pretty great movie. It's a pretty good Shrek sequel. They built off of everything that was in the first one, in my opinion. And they took it and made it on a grander scale.
Yeah. And it's by far one of the worst musicals I've ever laid my eyes on.
It's pretty bad.
Because I don't know what they were thinking. Like, the movie's an anti-musical type thing, anti-Disney, and they're like, oh, we're going to turn this into a musical like all the other Disney properties. It's like, no, it just doesn't work that way. It's a movie that was never meant to be a musical.
Fair enough. I'll say my number 4. I like John Wick. I like John Wick because I remember hearing the premise of the story and being completely like sunk into this mindset that this movie was going to blow. I thought this movie was going to be terrible. And I watched him. It was a lot of fun. You can't see my facial expression. It was a lot of fun. I liked it. Stunts were realistic and kind of the gunplay. That's probably the right word. I'm like, somewhere it's got to be right. But the gunplay in it is very realistic as a guy that grew up around guns. It was good. It was real, and they set up like there's these little nuances, like, well, no business can be conducted at the Continental, and there was hints that there was a bigger universe to be had for sure.
See, now, don't get mad at me, but I'm gonna be honest. I have never seen John Wick.
You know what? We're gonna change that for you.
But I will say one thing: can't go wrong with Keanu Reeves.
No, here's the thing: is Keanu Reeves in this movie? I don't know if he's great, but he's a good John Wick. I don't know how else to put it. Like his acting isn't spectacular by any means, and I wouldn't say he's an action hero.
And I mean, it is an action movie.
Great John Wick.
It is an action movie, so you don't exactly need good acting. Like, look at any Vin Diesel movie.
That's true. Like I've never. Don't get mad at me, people. Don't get mad. I know you're going to. Never really watched Fast and the Furious.
I haven't either, so don't feel bad. And I don't plan on it because basically they're at the point to where they're juicing every last thing they can out of it.
You know, potential podcast at some point. We watch all of the Fast and Furious and give you our thoughts on it.
How about the first 3? Because aren't there like 30 different ones now at this point?
I think there's like 10.
There's 10 and like multiple spin-offs.
Preston, we live in Wisconsin. You know we're going to have a snow day at some point, and you're going to be like, what do I want to do? And I'm going to say 10 Fast and Furious movies, stat, right now.
And I thought my Lord of the Rings extended version, like, movie night was going to be long.
Well, it will be. Well, it will be. See, that's the thing. Okay, let's see. Number 3. What's your number 3?
I got the greatest MCU movie of all time in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
All right.
I know that might be an unpopular opinion for some, and I know it's a pretty strong opinion for like a pretty big amount of people, of MCU fans.
It is rewatchable as hell.
I mean, one of the greatest opening scenes in MCU history. Like, it just starts off with Chris Pratt dancing to Redbone, Come and Get Your Love.
Come and get your love. Sing it, Preston. Come on.
Which was a fun fact.
You're not going to sing it.
I'm not singing.
He's not singing.
Which is a fun fact about Redbone, Come and Get Your Love. It was also my walk-up song in baseball.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's how much I love that opening scene.
Okay.
And I mean, the plot is just great. It's a bunch of misfits, coming together to kind of form their own little family.
Mm-hmm.
Because, all of them have always been alone. Like, I mean, besides maybe Rocket and Groot, but even those two have been isolated off from everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
You got Gamora, who is like an abusive relationship with her father. I mean,
For
has
sure.
a sister, but I mean, we
Estranged.
all know that they have like
Families
issues.
can be hard sometimes.
Peter Quill doesn't really have a family.
Not really.
Like,
Beyond Yondu.
Who was always in his eyes kind of abusive.
Because he loved him.
Yeah.
Because he loved him. Come on!
But, I mean, it still wasn't, like, the most healthy relationship between those two.
Right. If you abuse someone...
Of course, it's fixed in Volume 2, but we're not going to get into Volume 2 right now.
Right.
And like you said, the soundtrack.
I want to say that the soundtrack in that really brought old music back into touch.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
It definitely opened up, like, my music, what I listen to. Like, you go into my playlist before I ever got into, like, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. It's a lot of, like, just kind of the same music, just rock music,
Mm-hmm.
and then, like, popular music from, like, current day.
Yeah.
But after that, I was listening to more 70s, 60s, 80s, 90s, like, alternative, all sorts of different music genres. And Volume 2, debatably, has a better soundtrack.
I was going to say, the first time I listened to the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 soundtrack, I didn't think it was as good as 1. But it has grown on me so much. I'm like, it is inherently better, and 1 is inferior in soundtrack.
Like, let's just say that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is the reason I'm an ELO fan.
It's hard not to be. I think you might have saw it the other day, but I said there's not a male above the age of 18 that can't sing All of Brandy by The Looking Glass.
Oh, for sure.
There's not a male out there. Not one.
And then, like, Hooked on a Feeling from the first Guardians of the Galaxy, amazing song.
Outstanding. It was great. It was a great soundtrack. I could, that'll be, at some point, we'll talk about that in my theater experiences, but.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be kind of a thing with all my favorite movies that they all have, like, amazing soundtracks. And I guess that's because, well, good movies have good soundtracks. Either if it's, like...
They're memorable.
Either if it's, like, musical score, like, you know...
Star Wars.
Any movie by John Williams.
I was going to say, John Williams in the prequels is crazy.
Alvin Silvestri, who will also make an appearance on this list
The
later.
Avengers. You didn't think I knew that, did you? You didn't think I knew that.
Well, also, the composer for my number one movie. My number one favorite movie. Which we won't discuss yet.
No spoilers.
But how about you, Gabriel? What's your number 3 favorite movie?
We talked about it last week, but I'll just briefly go over it. Raiders of the Lost Ark for me is one of my favorite movies, just because I remember, and there's a little bit of nostalgia, definitely, but Harrison Ford in this movie is badass. He's funny. The action's great. There's not a scene in that movie where you walk away and say, that's stupid. And the bad guys miss Indiana Jones. Classic 80s cheese, man.
That's still a thing today.
Right. Oh, what? He's gonna get shot by the Nazis? No one wants to go see that.
Yeah, it's like, if every movie was realistic, it would end with the main character dying in the first 30 seconds.
That is a hot take. That is a really hot take, Preston.
But am I wrong?
I don't think you are. See, that's what
Indiana
I'm trying to
Jones
think about it.
Would have died pretty quick.
To the boulder or the trap or God knows what.
Like the Fast and Furious movies, they'd maybe last 5 minutes.
You've never seen one.
I've seen some scenes though.
I've seen snippets.
And it's like, yeah, you'd be dead. Like, that is not physically possible. Rambo?
Maybe.
Come on.
Rambo's possible. Look at me. Rambo is possible.
Rambo would die.
No. Rambo possible. Rambo's possible. I'm convinced. But Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's very linear, fun plot. You got everything you could possibly want in an 80s action movie. There's no character in there, besides the villains, of course, that I really dislike. Love Marion Ravenwood. I think she kicks ass. Sapito. Or Satipo. Whatever way you want to say it, I'll leave it up to Harrison Ford.
And I mean, it's probably the movie with the best villain, because it's the most fleshed out villain. It's like another archaeologist.
Yeah. It's his, what do you say? It's his antagonist. It's his polar opposite. Mm-hmm. It's a guy that wants to sell shit because wants to be money.
He's an archaeologist that wants to grave rob for profit to Indiana Jones. Yeah, he makes some money off of it, but it's ultimately going to a museum.
Belloc he sucks.
Yeah. Belloc, you can kiss my ass.
Yeah, he can kiss my ass. Middle finger. We don't like Belloc. All right, what's your number 2?
So, my number 2 is Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I know I'm going to have people probably coming at me for that, but it's like, no. It's not the best Star Wars movie, but it's the most rewatchable Star Wars movie.
You have a fun time when you watch it.
It's like, the score is great. It has hella lightsaber battles. Like,
there's not a lot of politics in this one.
Yeah, there's no politics. I mean, you could make a case that the main character, besides Anakin Skywalker, is Emperor Palpatine.
That's an interesting take.
Like, give us more Ian McDiarmid. Not like the sequels did, but Ian McDiarmid is amazing.
He is great as Emperor Palpatine, where he portrays an evil guy trying to be this weak old man really well.
Yeah, and I mean, him being, like, playing both sides of the war was amazing. Like, it was just, it's a great movie. You know, you get a lot of one-liners. Like, that whole movie is one-liners.
So uncivilized.
From So Uncivilized.
Hello there.
The famous hello there. You got, this is where the fun begins. The first line in the movie is, this is where the fun begins. And that couldn't be any more true.
One of the most underrated lines in that is when Obi-Wan and Anakin, I think Obi-Wan goes, I sense a trap. And Anakin says, next step? And Obi-Wan says, spring the trap. I tend to say that just in everyday life. I'm like, oh, next
How
step.
can we forget the famous "do it"?
Do it.
Like, you got Christopher Lee, Ian McDiarmid. You have all the Englishmen. You got
All of 'em.
Ewan McGregor. You got, and I mean, you got,
Natalie Portman.
like Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman's great in there.
Amazing.
Jimmy Smits as Bail Organa.
One of my most underrated Star Wars character, Mr. Bail Organa. You even got like Commander Cody gets lines. Like
Tamora Morrison, I think he's such a badass in and on, like, off screen too.
I know everyone's always been like, well, Tamora Morrison can't be that badass. We've only seen it. We saw him die on screen after like from the stupidest reason why, his character. It's like Jango Fett gets beheaded.
True.
And Boba Fett has some like gets hit by Luke as he's like blinded. And he
gets hit by Han Solo.
Oh, Han Solo.
Han Solo,
and
get
then
your facts
flies-
straight.
And then flies into the mouth of that one thing. I can't
The
remember.
Sarlacc. The Sarlacc pit. Come on, man.
It's like, that's one thing I love about The Mandalorian, is it's kind of redeemed his character.
Are you excited for the Book of Boba Fett?
Stupid question. Of course I am.
Yeah.
Like, I love The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian is like the only TV show to this day that I will stay up till 3 a.m. to watch it.
Really?
Yeah. Every episode of The Mandalorian season 2, I should say, I would stay up till, I think it was 2 o'clock is when the episode
How did you stay awake? How did you stay awake? Walk me through your routine.
Well, you see, I mean, I'm a
Get it out, come on.
I'm a night owl anyway. Like, I can stay up till 2 o'clock and not be phased at all.
Okay.
So, I mean, it wasn't too hard. But it's just, I inject the Mandalorian into my veins.
Oh my
I
goodness.
play
Between the toes, I hope.
I play the song that gets me all hyped up for it. You know the opening song.
Oh yeah. Ba-dum, ba-dum. Yeah.
I listen to that, gets me hyped up for the episode, and I'm good to go.
Wow. Impressive. That's an impressive feat.
What's your thoughts on The Mandalorian?
I like The Mandalorian. I think it's the best piece of Star Wars we've had in the last 10 years. Debatable with season 7. I think it's season 6 or 7 of the Clone Wars. I think it's 7.
Unpopular opinion, it's not even close. Like,
The Fall of Mandalore and Order 66 with Ahsoka Tano are pretty great.
my only issue with it is it's animation, not live action. So I kind of tend to like The Mandalorian a lot more than the Clone Wars. Even though the Clone Wars is good, but there's something that animation just can't be held up to the same standard with me when it comes to like a live action
Like
Star
emotions?
Wars.
You're talking about emotions?
Like emotional
That makes
wise,
sense.
score wise, like you can't really see how a character is feeling through animation. You can, but it's a lot harder. But when it's live action, you can read the characters a lot better.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
Like I said, nothing against animation. I had Shrek in my top 5, which is, of course, animation. I love animation movies. But there's a big difference between animation and live-action movies.
That is a great segue into my number 2, Preston. My number 2. And this may shock people. I love the movie Kung Fu Panda. I love it.
Oh, so do I.
Yeah, Jack Black in this movie, he's goddamn hilarious. I love him.
Plus, like Shrek, great story.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a panda who's kind of,
Fat. He's fat.
a fat panda who hasn't really accomplished much in his life. Gets to
He's
be
kinda
the
dumb.
Dragon Warrior.
Mm-hmm. The chosen one.
And the whole movie's about him, trying to be what he's not, but he ends up unlocking all his power, his skill, when he learns that in order to be the Dragon Warrior, you just have to be yourself.
Yeah, and that's such a great message. I always think it's funny, too, that China saw this and they said, why don't we think of this? They're like, we love pandas. We love Kung Fu. What the hell went wrong? Because I remember they likened it to if they made a movie about a bald eagle that was like a cowboy and he like had a revolver and he was learning how to duel or something like that. But anywho, yeah, I do like that movie, Kung Fu Panda. Jack Black's great, and the truth is sometimes you just have to lean into who you are, for sure. There's a great cast too on here.
Yeah, I mean, like Angelina Jolie. I remember the last time I watched Kung Fu Panda, which was about last year, I was like, all these people's voices sound familiar. And like, I didn't realize like how many big names were in this cast. Like, I
Dustin
haven't pulled
Hoffman.
Up here. You got Dustin Hoffman,
Jackie
Angelina
Chan.
Jolie, Jackie Chan,
Yeah.
Seth Rogen. Like, Seth Rogen playing a praying mantis is hilarious.
That's hilarious. I like that movie. I think it's a fun movie to watch, and it's for kids, but it's not for kids. Like,
yeah.
That is such a hard lesson to teach, that sometimes the biggest, greatest thing you can be is nothing less than yourself.
Plus, I mean, it also has James Hong as Mr. Ping. Like,
that's fair. That is funny.
I love James Hong.
Funny. He's funny.
Like, the guy's hilarious.
He is. He really is.
It's definitely would be in my top 10 for animated movies. Like, I like Kung Fu Panda.
It's a great movie. Kung Fu Panda 2 is arguably better. We'll get to that at a later date.
I haven't watched I've watched Kung Fu Panda 2, but I don't remember it because it's just been so long since I've watched it.
Fair
what
enough.
else do you have to say about Kung Fu Panda?
I like that the movie itself is not about Poe becoming the Dragon Warrior. It's Poe. Well, it is, but he's not like actively training in a Rocky-style montage.
It's about Poe trying to become the Dragon Warrior, but
he
realizing
can't.
at the end that to be the Dragon Warrior, he has to be himself.
Tomorrow is history. Or tomorrow... God damn it, I already messed it up. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery.
Plus, I love the fact...
Today is a gift.
What was their master's name again? Was it Oogway?
Oogway. Use a turtle, yeah.
Yeah, I love the fact that Oogway is just a giant turtle.
He's kind of an idiot. Him and Poe are cut from the same cloth.
I wouldn't say an idiot.
Him and Oogway are very similar,
like,
though.
Oogway
Think
was
about that.
how old again? That he has
Old as hell. He was old as hell.
Which, I mean, lines up with him being like a tortoise. Those things live forever, it seems like.
I suppose, yeah. I think that movie, Master Oogway in that movie's pretty great. I think he's a wise character.
Plus, I mean, it was in the time of DreamWorks. Like, that's when DreamWorks was, like, knocking every movie out of the park. You had Shrek, Shrek 2, Kung Fu Panda. I know, I haven't seen it in a while, but How to Train Your Dragon.
That came out a couple years
People
after.
Loved that
I
movie.
liked that. I went to go see that with one of my
what
friends.
else did they have? Like, Over the Hedge. Loved
You like Over the Hedge?
I do like
I don't
Over
like
the
Over
Hedge.
the Hedge.
And I mean,
don't like Over the Hedge.
it's kind of something DreamWorks has lost in their animation lately.
That's true. DreamWorks, yeah.
It's not just me being like, oh, I grew up watching it, so it's not, so it's...
So I'm trying to think of what they have now.
But the issue with DreamWorks now is that everything's kind of based around, like, fart jokes and stuff
Money.
like that.
It's based
So, like,
around money.
When you go back to, like, the original DreamWorks movies,
They didn't give a rat's ass.
it was, yes, there was comedy in them, but there was also great messages behind them.
They were made for
Great
adults.
castings.
Or complex messages.
Yeah. And it's, in the second I think they kind of just lost their vision.
That's fair. Well, I think we should talk about our number ones, and then I think we should get to the theater experiences.
Actually, honorable mentions first.
Honorable mentions.
Gotta keep them.
Honorable. That was great trumpet sound, by the way.
So my first honorable mention is The Sandlot.
I've never seen it. You like baseball. I've never seen
It's
it.
the perfect movie to watch on the 4th of July.
Do you think so?
Takes place in the summer. It's about just some normal kids just bonding around the game of baseball, playing, Baseball's a sport you don't have to play on like a great field to play. It's the Sandlot. I mean, it's just basically a lump of dirt. It's a movie about like friendship. It's a movie about baseball, which is my favorite sport. Played baseball growing up. It's a movie I just connected with, with the bonding between friends playing it. And I mean, plus it has just some hilarious moments, hilarious characters. You play baseball like a girl. You got the Beast. You got You're Killing Me, Smalls. I mean, a bunch of one-liners, a bunch of great characters.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, it's just a fun movie. And plus, like, the soundtrack, pretty good. Like, it has them trying chew for the first time, swallowing it on a carnival ride, and they're, like, getting sick to tequila. Like, the song Tequila.
You make me sick.
Like, it's just hilarious. So what's your first honorable mention?
Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump it's kind of a hard movie to watch, and hot take, Jenny is the villain in that movie.
Oh,
I hate Jenny. Hate her.
All my friends hate Jenny.
All my homies hate Jenny. But I like that movie. Tom Hanks is great in that movie. It's just a good story. Like, you could watch it. You can't watch it a ton, and that's why it doesn't make the list, because it's a bit of a hard movie to watch, hard pill to swallow, that, like, he's a good dude, and yet he gets shit on in life.
But one thing I do like about Forrest Gump is it's also a great history movie. Like,
we watched it in a push.
It's like it highlights debatably one of the biggest moments in U.S. history. It's like
you got Vietnam, you got desegregation.
You got JFK even.
JFK makes an appearance in there.
Makes a hilarious appearance.
He does. How you feeling, son?
It's like it's basically the '60s through a simple mind.
It is a good history movie. I do like to watch that movie.
And as a history buff, it's just a movie I like to watch because it highlights history. It's great.
I agree. I think it's a good movie. It's just kind of a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, and it can get slow at some points.
I agree.
Like, I think it could have gone without the whole running across the United States.
But he's running against the wind. Bob Seger. Come on, man.
I don't know.
Soundtrack in that movie's great, by the way,
that
too.
part is just kind of slow, kind of unnecessary. It's like, okay. It's kind of that scene when you're watching it, and if you're, like, kind of starting to get bored, it's one you kind of just skip over because it doesn't add a whole lot to the story.
But he's running away. All right, just go to your
I just find
mention.
It boring.
Just go on. Just go on. Some people really like it. Some people don't. Just go on.
I like Forrest Gump. It's just that scene. It's like just kind of boring to me.
That's fair.
So another honorable mention I have: Spider-Man 2. Debatably one of the best comic book movies of all time.
Okay.
It's my favorite superhero, Spider-Man. Like, hopefully we talk about Spider-Man in a future episode. But I mean, it tackles the whole mental health stuff. It has a great villain with Alfred Molina playing Doc Ock.
He gives it up. I think that's such a great, ingenious way for a superhero movie to be different. Make it not about being a hero. Make it about the small things.
Yeah. It's like, I love the whole thing. It's like, Spider-Man's stressed. He's kind of debating why he became Spider-Man.
I agree.
So his powers just went away. It's like, well, if you don't want to be me, if you don't want to be Spider-Man, the powers are just going to go away, and then you're going to have to, like, kind of just live with the consequences for what happened. Like, the whole, with great power comes great responsibility. He kind of remembers that whole mindset that Uncle Ben told him in the first Spider-Man. It's like, well, you have the responsibility now. It's like, and if you give it up, bad things are going to happen, and it kind of shows. The only thing I can't stand in it, Kirsten Dunst. I think we talked about this last episode. But honestly, her character could have been so much better. Her character is just kind of the damsel in distress screaming the whole movie.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
So it's kind of unnerving a little bit sometimes. Like her character can just be a little annoying with the constant screaming.
Fair. Well, I would say my second honorable mention, but I know it's the same as yours, so we'll just talk about it together. But my honorable mention would be Logan. It's one of my favorite, like, probably my favorite movie but I can't watch it a ton. Because, spoiler alert, the Wolverine dies at the end. And it's tough. It is a very serious adult movie about really adult things. And it's violent. And Hugh Jackman in this movie is pretty goddamn great.
So's Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart, yeah. He lost a ton of weight.
Patrick Stewart was amazing in the movie.
He was. And even the kid actor, Daphne Keane, she's pretty good in it. I got no complaints. And kid actors can be...
can be hit or miss.
They really can.
Which isn't their fault, because, I mean, they're
kids. How do you...
8.
You can't wrap your mind around, complex emotions you've never felt.
Like, if you threw me on a movie set when I was 8, it wouldn't be very well. I had the attention span of a pea.
That's why, she's pretty good in it, but Hugh Jackman in this movie is really good, and the problem is it's just too sad. It is too sad to watch a ton. Yeah,
watching Wolverine impaled on a log.
It's hard.
And I mean, it's kind of... I wouldn't say that it's funny in the movie, but it's kind of funny that Deadpool takes a dig at it.
Yeah, that he ups the ante and he dies.
Ups the ante and he dies.
It's just a good movie. It's one of those movies that if anyone were to ever want to be my friend, big if, but that's a movie I'm like you borderline and make you watch.
It's the perfect ending to a storyline, like a character storyline.
And it has nothing to do with hardly anything. They just made it as kind of an homage to Hugh Jackman.
They're like, Hugh, this is probably going to be your last movie. It's going to be probably your last moment playing Wolverine. So we're going to put all the resources we can into making this a great movie.
And I remember reading he took a pay cut so it could be rated R. I think that's...
Which you need to
awesome.
Do. Like, there are some just comic book characters that need rated R movies. That's the only thing I'm kind of worried about with some Disney properties. I worry about that. Like
Deadpool.
Some superheroes that you need to be rated R, I'd say like Deadpool, especially with the last 2 movies. Like, it's a bunch of him just...
It works.
Yeah, it's him being funny and with crude humor. You know, he doesn't censor himself. No, nothing like that. He straight up killing people.
He just turned this guy into a goddamn kebab.
Yeah, I mean, you also got Logan. I mean, he's a superhero that kills people.
And he's at the end of his line. This isn't your classic superhero movie where you get a hero right in his prime or an origin story. He's at his end. He's at his, this is it. Maybe he has another year or 2 on the planet Earth, and he's done. Or he's going to kill himself.
It's like, with other comic book characters, it's like, yeah, they don't have to kill people, or you can kind of kill them off screen. Well, Wolverine's superpower is he basically has multiple swords coming out of his hands, and he's constantly cutting people's limbs off, stabbing people. Blood's going to be everywhere. And that's why it has to be rated R. Like, his moveset doesn't allow him to be a PG-13 superhero.
He's violent.
Like, another one that comes to mind, The Punisher.
True.
Like, that guy's main thing is killing people. You can't really make that a PG-13 movie.
I agree. I think we should share our last honorable mention because it's the same.
Remember,
do you want to say it together?
I have 2 honorable mentions.
Oh, you do? You have mentions. 2? Oh,
because remember, I couldn't choose between these 2. I couldn't choose one to leave off the list. But yeah, we have the same one here, I think.
Do you want to say it together?
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's a good movie. It's funny. It's about growing up.
Matthew Broderick is great in this movie.
It's pretty great. And, for being like a classic 80s movie, it certainly deals with some pretty existential things, like growing up, moving, maybe outgrowing some friends, perhaps.
Plus, I mean, it's funny.
I like that. It's funny. It is funny.
Nothing's funnier is when they called the principal, and he's like, yelling at the lady, and he's like, well, her grandma's dead. Yeah. And he's like all embarrassed and shit. It's just hilarious.
It is funny.
And they're like, oh, I know this is Ferris. So, it's like, yeah. oh, funny. I know this is you Ferris type thing, and he's like just swearing at him, and then Ferris calls on the next line, and the look on his face is just hilarious.
That is funny.
Plus, I mean, the whole Beatles scene during the parade. Love that scene.
I like that. I do like the part.
Great soundtrack.
Yeah, that's another movie. That is kind of a common theme for us here. Well, why don't you get to your last honorable mention here real quick?
Okay, so my fourth honorable mention is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. It's a movie I saw for the first time a couple months ago. It's probably a movie I've watched 5 times now. Like, I love the movie.
You love it.
Oh, I love it.
You love it.
Like, it's kind of like one of those movies that you either love or you hate it. And it's a movie I love. I mean, it kind of has a weird plot. Like, a geeky kid in a garage band has to fight off his new girlfriend's, like, 7 evil exes in a video game, like, Street Fighter type thing. And I know people are probably thinking, what the hell movie is this? If you haven't, give it a try.
Banger. I've seen it.
It's a great movie.
I like it.
Great soundtrack.
It's a banger.
Like, it's kind of funny. Like, Michael Cera doesn't seem like a person who know how to play the bass. Well, Michael Cera, before this movie was made, was in a band and was the bass player.
I did not know that, actually.
Yeah.
No way.
Everyone else had to be trained on instruments, but Michael Cera was already in a band and knew how to play bass.
That's really cool, actually. I didn't know that.
Plus, I mean, kind of an underrated cast. Like, you got Brie Larson.
Chris
Evans was in it.
Guy that played Superman. And he was in Legend of Tomorrow. The hell is his name? I can see his face, dark hair. Classic Superman looking guy.
I mean, you also got Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah, Aubrey. Or is it Audrey?
It's one of the two.
One or the other.
You know, love her from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Who else was in it? I mean,
I haven't seen the movie in a long time.
The other McCulkin brother.
Really?
Macaulay Culkin's brother is in it. He's Scott's roommate.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, they look similar.
Yeah.
I think they
so
look
it's
similar.
just a really good cast. Plus, Obi-Wan's wife is the main love interest.
I think that's funny. Yeah, it's a good movie. I like it. I've only seen it a couple times though, so I didn't really put it on here. But well, do you want your number one first? Or you want my number one?
How about you go first?
Okay.
They've heard my voice enough for now.
For now, it's kind of a cult movie. I really like the movie The Big Lebowski. Quote from it quite a bit. And there's just one part in there where he's in the sheriff's office and he tells the dude, that's his official character, is the dude. And he's like, oh, you gotta quit searching where you don't belong, blah, blah, blah. And the dude is so lazy and just hippy-dippy. So then the sheriff throws a coffee cup in his face. He goes, ow! Like that. That's a perfect impression of it. It's Jeff Bridges. And he goes, ow! Like that. I just like the movie. There's a bunch of quotable bits. There's memorable parts.
It's just like your opinion, man.
That's just like your opinion, man.
Really good cast.
Great cast. Because you got Steve Buscemi.
John Goodman.
And
I mean, of course, Jeff Bridges.
The hell is his name? I can see him. He died about 10 years ago. He was the butler in it. Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh, I love Philip Seymour Hoffman.
That was who I was looking for. Yep. Yeah, they're funny in this movie, and it just works for me. Some people think it's a weird movie, and it is.
Is it really a cult following, though? I think everyone has this movie in the top 10 comedies.
It's really hit or miss. Some people really like it, some people don't. I love it.
So I've only seen it once, and like I thought it was funny, but I can also see why some people wouldn't like it.
It's a weird movie.
It's weird.
It's definitely weird. Like I do think the part though where he goes to spread his ashes and it blows right back in his face. That part's hilarious.
I love how the whole movie just like runs like it just goes around because the guy got his rug stole.
It was a nice
and
rug.
wants it back.
It really tied the whole room together, Preston.
And his rug being stole leads just all these different things happening.
Frantic. Like, how do you explain that?
Well, want me to get into my number one?
Do it. Do it. I know balls you to do it.
Okay, well, my number one favorite movie to watch is Back to the Future, Part 1. This was hard for me, because I didn't know if I wanted to put Back to the Future Part 1 or 2. Because, to be honest, I love 2 just about as much. Like the whole going to the future, saving your family type thing. Like, history changing. I love that part, but I'll get back in the Part 1. I mean, just a classic movie.
I don't like it.
Oh.
I do not like Back to the Future.
You did not just say that.
I don't like Back to the Future. I don't like it.
Before I get into why I love it, let's have Gabe explain why he doesn't like it.
It's just not... I just don't like it. It's just not fun. I don't like it. It doesn't hold up anymore. I don't think Marty McFly is that interesting or cool. I think it's just kind of over the top. I just don't like it. I just don't like it.
I'm kind of speechless right now. I can't believe he just said that.
Flabbergasted.
Like, I love Back to the Future. Like, nothing's more fun than a cool character like Marty McFly, Doc Brown, you know, a DeLorean that time travels. That's great.
I just don't like it.
And then him having to go, like, back in time to, like, make sure his parents fall in love. Like, that's hilarious. Especially since his mom kind of falls in love with him. Which, kind of weird, but also...
That is a really weird plot line that people don't talk about.
But also really funny. Like, him having to, like, set up his mom who's in love with him with a really nerdy peeping Tom is just funny to me.
I don't know. You may love it.
Plus,
I'll let you love it.
Alvin Silvestri being behind the score just does a great job with it. Best character in the TV movie is Doc Brown. Like,
that I do agree with.
1.21 gigawatts or whatever amount of gigawatts it was. Like, I just love it.
That's fair. I guess you're allowed to have your opinion and I'm allowed to have mine.
But yours is wrong.
You know what? I'll go to my grave thinking I'm right. Well,
you know, I respect your opinion. I disagree with your opinion, but I can respect it.
I'm sure there's certain movies I really, really like that you just don't.
Yeah, probably.
At some point we'll figure that out, and then I'll be pissed off for the whole rest of my
Now I'm kind of irritated. I just didn't rip the Big Lebowski.
I know, right? That's why I'm like, hopefully I get to go first. Should we get to favorite theater experiences, Preston? Should we do it?
Yeah, I'll let you go first.
Oh.
Because I heard you have a pretty juicy one, I guess.
My absolute number one, and it's not even a doubt in my mind, no question, with a K and a W, not a Q and a U. Transformers, 2007. A young man by the name of Gabriel Sexton goes on a hot day with his parents and his brother at 6 years old to go see Transformers. And it's my absolute favorite theater experience. And I know you're all sitting here like, Gabriel, it's a Michael Bay movie. Great theater experience. You had robots punching each other in the face.
Wait, people think Michael Bay movies are bad?
They are over the top. But Gabriel.
It's like, have they not seen Avatar or Titanic?
I don't like Avatar. Anywho, that's James. I don't like Avatar. That's a movie we'll get at some point. I'll talk about. I don't like.
It's been a long time since I've seen Avatar, so I'll have to give it a rewatch.
Rewatch it and try to like it.
And we'll talk about it possibly on a future episode.
Rewatch it, try to like it. Anywho, robots were punching each other in the face. Megan Fox is in this movie. It was a summer blockbuster. It really was.
Was that Josh Duhamel?
Josh Duhamel, yeah, he was in this movie. The military was very realistic in this movie. And when I left this theater, Linkin Park was blaring. What I've done. And then it was at that moment I wanted every single Transformers toy I could get my hands on. Movie was designed to sell toys, and by God, they did it.
Speaking of Transformers, shout out to my dad. Loved Transformers as a kid. He said the one Christmas gift he always wanted was the Optimus Prime.
Okay.
Was the Optimus Prime, folding action figure.
You wanted the Transformer.
And he's been salty about it since.
Wow.
But he got Bumblebee instead.
I tell you, it was kind of fun because it was something my dad watched, I think as a kid, I would assume, but he was telling me about Transformers cartoons, and we just kind of bonded over that. My funny story is that I got all these Transformers toys, but I couldn't transform them, so I'd give them to him to transform them.
Did you have Optimus Prime?
No, I didn't. I had Megatron and Bumblebee. I never had an Optimus Prime, though.
Huh. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen the Transformers movie, but it's been 10 years.
Watch it. Just try to imagine being 6 years old in a theater in the summer watching it. I remember turning to my dad, I'm like, this is the most awesome thing I've ever done in my life. Great head start at 6 years old.
So for me, my best theater experience, imagine, Prestin in his middle teens.
Awkward teenage years?
Oh, yeah. Huge Star Wars fan. Well, this was one of my first, big movie experiences. When I was growing up, we always went to, the small town movie theater.
Okay.
There wouldn't be too many people there. There would maybe be, a dozen people at, a screening.
Okay.
Well, this was when Star Wars The Last Jedi came out. It was coming off of The Force Awakens, which was pretty positively... People thought of it in a pretty good... It was good. It was exciting. It left off on a cliffhanger. Everyone was excited.
Characters were open. They were open for being good.
You had Rey, who was an interesting character at the time.
Nobody. Just Rey. Nothing.
Just Rey.
Nothing after that.
And you have,
Finn,
who...
was a stormtrooper?
A stormtrooper with, force ability...
Black
potential
stormtrooper?
force abilities.
Yeah.
Really interesting character.
Kylo Ren, who's a Sith that feels the pull from the light.
One of my favorite scenes in a movie theater was seeing Kylo Ren freeze Poe and force freeze him standing still.
Yeah.
In the first movie, in The Force Awakens, one of my biggest jaw-dropping moments watching a movie, because I just wasn't expecting that.
Really?
But back to The Last Jedi. Originally, now, I hate The Last Jedi. But seeing it in theaters was a completely different movie for me, I go there, it's not the midnight premiere, but the early screening, how they have the early screening.
Yeah.
My dad bought tickets for that. I was super excited. We go there, everyone's dressed up in Star Wars gear, it's a bunch of it was a mini Comic Con.
Oh, fair enough.
A mini Star Wars Comic Con.
Yeah.
Everyone's dressed up with lightsabers. Of course, I wasn't dressed up because I didn't know that was going to happen. But it's I kind of felt out of place because I was wearing normal clothes and everyone else is wearing...
I'm underdressed.
Everyone else is wearing Jedi robes, has lightsabers. Everyone's super excited to see what happens next.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie. At first, I loved the movie. It's probably because I saw it in theaters and the experience was so great. But, it was just fun. A couple things I hated, though, was just Luke Skywalker grabbing the lightsaber and throwing it back his shoulder. I'm like, you hype us up for him to do that.
Yeah, there's that. There's the whole Canto Bite part on the casino. There's Holdo, who... so irritating to me.
But, when I first saw it in theaters, I loved it.
It's hard not to. It's hard not to like Star Wars in a big theater.
And I kind of want to talk about The Force Awakens a bit. It's not in my top 2 favorite theater experiences, but It's a great theater experience I have. It was the first time I ever saw a Star Wars movie in theaters. Growing up, my parents weren't big Star Wars fans, so we just didn't go to the prequels because
Yeah.
my parents just weren't into it. I wasn't that into it at the time either.
Okay.
So like we never saw like Revenge of the Sith or anything like that. So The Force Awakens was like my first Star Wars movie in theaters, and it's always something I'm gonna treasure. Is like me and my buddy sitting there in the front row geeking out every 30 seconds to something that happens.
Yeah.
And then completely losing it when Kylo Ren thrusts his lightsaber into Han Solo's stomach. And it's
Yeah.
like, did they just do that? And watching, like, one of my favorite, like, characters growing up just fall down into an abyss was, like, heartbreaking.
You're like, why are you doing this to me, J.J. Abrams? Why?
Yeah, it's like, why? He didn't have to. And then, like I said, Kylo Ren force freezing Poe in his blaster shot in midair, and just it was amazing. Plus, the lightsaber fights. I don't care what anyone says. The lightsaber fight between Rey, Finn, and Kylo Ren on Starkiller base in the snow was amazing. It felt so raw. Like
that's a good way to put it.
Like in the other Star Wars movies, they seem to be pretty choreographed. Like in like the prequels.
These are just people swinging at each other.
This is like two inexperienced
It's not an
people
art.
just swinging at each other against the guy who's wounded. I know what people are gonna say, like, "Ooh, how did Rey beat Kylo? He's been trained." Well, you gotta remember, Kylo Ren was shot with Chewie's bowcaster. Like that guy was not at 100%. And he gets sloppier when he's fighting. So
This is true.
Or he gets sloppier when he's like angry, and I mean he was pretty pissed off that Chewie shot him, and I mean it kind of led to him being sloppy. I don't think it's too like over the top that Rey and Finn were able to survive, but I wouldn't say Rey won the fight.
No, there would have to be some sort of definite winner and definite loser. But you know what they say about going to see Star Wars for the first time in the theater, right?
What?
Your first time's always special. It is.
And it's very true.
It is. I mean, I'll briefly talk about it, but on my list, I have Revenge of the Sith. I went and saw. It was probably one of the first movies I remember going to go see. I was 4. My dad was actually 5 when he went to go see A New Hope. So he took me to go see it. I loved Star Wars as a kid. Like, loved it. Into it, had action figures. I had a Mace Windu action figure that
Lego
very
Star
beloved. I am not good with Legos, never was.
I'm talking about the games.
Oh, the game? Yeah, loved it. But I remember going to go see it in the theater. I remember it was another hot summer day. I had a yellow shirt and it said Star Wars on it, and in the letters it was Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting on Mustafar. I still remember it. But I remember sitting there, like, edge of my seat when the Mustafar fight came on, and
I get goosebumps.
It was amazing.
I get goosebumps just thinking about that scene, because it's just like the best lightsaber fight in the Star Wars franchise. And I didn't see it in theaters, and I still get goosebumps. I didn't see it in theaters, I didn't see it in theaters, but I got goosebumps thinking about it. Yeah. I couldn't imagine seeing that in theaters.
At 4 years old,
my 4-year-old mind would have melted.
My 4-year-old mind did melt. Grievous terrified the ever-living hell out of me. Like this 4-armed robot dude.
I probably would have thrown a fit, though, when Mace Windu was thrusted out the window. Like, one of my favorite Star Wars characters right there, and to watch him just get betrayed like that, I just hate it.
Revenge of the Sith is an S-tier theater movie, S-tier movie.
Plus, if I watched Revenge of the Sith now for the first time in theaters, like my mouth would drop watching Order 66 play out.
Well, imagine being 4 years old and watching it. I do want to talk about one other one because we get into sci-fi nerdy stuff, but I'm gonna try and shy away from that because it might not be like one of my all-time favorite theater experiences. I went and saw Christopher Robin when I was 17. I went with my girlfriend at the time. Let me tell you. Let me set the score. Let me set the stage for you. I'd been up since about 6 a.m. at football, and we finally got done at 1 or 2 a.m. And I went was going on a date with this girl, and it was pouring ass rain that day. So much so I showered at my buddy's house, and we got done, and I'm like, oh shit, it's raining. So I took an umbrella and we went there, and we went to Christopher Robin. I'm a big Ewan McGregor fan, massive fan.
Every man is.
Fair enough. He's a handsome man. We'll leave it at that. He's a handsome man. But I remember going to go see it, and I liked the message of the fact that you got to look at things a little differently, and sometimes it's good to be a kid. It's good to never grow up sometimes. I like that movie. I like that experience. I sat there. Yeah, it was a little out of place. Probably. Like, I'm a non-parent and I'm not a child. I'm 17 at Christopher Robin, but
hey, nothing wrong with that.
I liked it. I did like that movie. It's one of my go-to just throw something on type movies. I liked that movie. I liked that experience quite a bit. Holds a place in my heart for sure.
Well, should we talk about next week a little bit? A little sneak peek.
You're the master. You tell me.
So yeah, coming up on Prestin Sexton episode 3, which is going to come out on Thursday of next week, we are going to be reviewing The Eternals. You know, it's a film that's been both praised and hated on by the critics, by other Marvel fans. So if you want just a review from two normal dudes sitting in a college dorm,
in a fold-up chairs and a fold-up table.
Make sure you give it a listen next week. I mean, I'm sure we'll have a couple interesting things to say about it.
No, I don't think so. I think we're going to be completely boring and vanilla.
Well, that concludes this episode of Prestin Sexton, episode 2. We encourage you all to give it a listen, or give us a follow on Spotify.
Smash that subscribe button, baby.
Subscribe on YouTube. Make sure to give us a like. You can find us on social media at Prestin Sexton Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And I'm Preston DeVille. Sitting across from me is Gabriel Sexton, and we'd like to just wish you all a good day and a good night.